Welcome to the Binge. I'm your host, here to explore a whirlwind of topics that pique our curiosity and spark conversations. From the latest trends and cultural phenomena to the quirky and unexpected, we'll dive into what's captivating us right now. So whether you're seeking inspiration or just want to join in on some intriguing discussions, grab your snacks and settle in. Let's get binging.
It's the Binge Podcast where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast. Come join us fast.
The improbable saga of Tupac Shakur, a whirlwind of complexity. Imagine, if you will, a young man who would become simultaneously the most celebrated and most tragic figure in hip-hop history, Tupac Shakur, a hurricane of talent, rage, and vulnerability wrapped in baggy jeans and unbridled charisma. Born to a Black Panther mother in 1971, Tupac emerged from a crucible of political activism and urban struggle that would shape his entire artistic persona. His mother was a revolutionary who transformed from a radical activist to her son's most ardent protector, a narrative so improbable it would seem fabricated in any other context. The young Shakur moved more times than most people change their underwear, bouncing between New York, Baltimore, and eventually California, each city leaving an indelible mark on his developing artistic sensibility. He was less a musician and more a walking, talking sociological transmission, broadcasting the raw, unfiltered experiences of young black men in America with a linguistic dexterity that would make Shakespeare tip his ruffled hat. His musical output was nothing short of prolific. In just 5 years, he recorded and released more material than most artists manage in entire careers. Between 1991 and 1996, Tupac was a human content machine, dropping albums, acting in films, and creating a cultural footprint so massive it would make geological impressions look trivial. Let's be brutally honest. Tupac didn't just make music. He dropped sonic fucking bombs that exploded through the carefully constructed walls of polite society. His tracks weren't just songs. They were raw, unfiltered grenades of truth that made white America simultaneously uncomfortable and unable to look away. What made Tupac extraordinary wasn't just his musical talent, but his complete, uncompromising humanity, a rare quality in an era of carefully managed public personas. He could transition from heart-wrenching social commentary to street-level braggadocio with the ease of a linguistic gymnast. One moment, he'd be dissecting systemic racism. The next, he'd be crafting party anthems that would make the entire neighborhood lose their collective minds. The music industry of the 1990s was a bizarre landscape, a wild west of record labels, territorial disputes, and cultural tensions that Tupac navigated like a street-smart general. The record labels were a bunch of corporate motherfuckers who thought they could control a force of nature like Tupac, but he wasn't having it. He challenged every goddamn system, every expectations, every preconceived notion about what a black artist could or should be. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry wasn't just a musical feud. It was a full-blown cultural war with Tupac at its epicenter, a conflict so intense it would ultimately consume him. His death in 1996 was less an ending and more a transformation. Murdered in Las Vegas under circumstances that remained murkier than a Louisiana swamp, Tupac became instantly mythological. He transformed from a controversial artist into a permanent cultural icon, a martyr of hip-hop whose legacy would far outlive his 25 brief years. Posthumously, Tupac has become something approaching a secular saint of hip-hop. His lyrics quoted, his image plastered on everything from t-shirts to academic dissertations. Universities now teach courses about his cultural impact, a development that would likely have both amused and bewildered the young man from East Harlem. What's most remarkable about Tupac wasn't just his musical genius, but his ability to be simultaneously vulnerable and hard, intellectual and street smart, a poet and a warrior. He was a walking contradiction, precisely what made him so fundamentally human. In the grand tapestry of American cultural history, Tupac Shakur stands as a singular thread, a holy shit moment of artistic brilliance that defined every goddamn expectation. He was impossible to ignore difficult to fully comprehend, but absolutely essential to understanding the complex, messy, often brutal narrative of race, art, and identity in the late 20th century America. A Metallic Tapestry: The Journey Through Humanity's Elemental Companions. Metals have been the silent architects of human civilization, transforming our species from primitive tool makers to technological wizards. Each metal tells a story of human ingenuity, survival, and progress. Copper. The ancient innovator discovered around 9000 BCE, copper was humanity's first metallurgical breakthrough. Soft and malleable, it allowed early civilizations in Mesopotamia and the Andes to create sophisticated tools and decorative objects. The Copper Age marked humanity's first step into metallurgy, predating bronze by thousands of years. Native peoples in the Americas were particularly adept at copperworking, creating intricate jewelry and functional implements. Bronze. The civilization maker, an alloy of copper and tin, bronze represented a quantum leap in human technological capability. The Bronze Age, 3300 to 1200 BCE, saw the rise of complex societies, advanced weaponry, and sophisticated trade networks. Civilizations like the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Chinese used bronze for everything from ceremonial objects to military equipment. Its durability and strength made it superior to pure copper, enabling more complex societal structures. Iron. The industrial transformer, iron emerged around 1200 BCE, revolutionizing human advanced agricultural implements and superior weaponry. The Iron Age saw the rise of empires, with civilizations like the Hittites, the Greeks, the Romans, leveraging iron's strength to expand territorial control. Interestingly, early iron was often meteoritic, with some ancient cultures believing these metals had supernatural origins. Steel. The Industrial Revolution's backbone, an alloy of iron and carbon, steel represented the pinnacle of metallurgical achievement. Developed in its modern form during the 19th century, steel enabled the construction of skyscrapers, bridges, railways, and industrial machinery. The Bessemer process, invented in 1856, allowed mass steel production, fundamentally transforming global infrastructure and economic potential. Aluminum. The modern miracle. Initially more valuable than gold, aluminum became cheap and accessible after the Hall-Héroult process was developed in 1886. Lightweight, corrosion-resistant, and abundant, it revolutionized transportation, packaging, and construction. The aerospace industry in particular owes its existence to aluminum's remarkable properties. Rare earth materials, the digital age's foundation. Elements like neodymium, dysprosium, and tritium are critical to modern technology. Used in smartphones, computers, electric vehicle batteries, and renewable energy systems, these metals represent the cutting edge of human technological capability. Composition and atomic structure at their core, metals are defined by their atomic structure. Metallic bonds allow electrons to move freely between atoms, creating unique properties like electrical conductivity, malleability, and thermal transmission. The periodic table reveals metals' fundamental characteristics. Transition metals, alkaline metals, earth metals, and rare earth metals each have distinct properties. Historical significant metals have been more than mere materials. Historical significance. Metals have been more than mere materials. They've been catalysts for human development. The ability to extract, shape, and utilize metals separated advanced civilizations from primitive societies. Trade routes, like the Silk Road, were fundamentally metal-driven, with copper, silver, and gold serving as both commodity and currency. Environmental and ethical considerations. Modern metal extraction raises significant environmental and ethical challenges. Mining can cause substantial ecological damage, and many rare earth metals are extracted under problematic labor conditions, particularly in developing countries. From the copper tools of ancient Mesopotamia to the rare earth metals in your smartphone, metals have been humanity's silent partners in progress. Each element tells a story of human innovation, technological leap, and our perpetual quest to understand and manipulate the physical world. The metallic journey continues, with emerging technologies promising even more remarkable applications for these fundamental building blocks of our technological civilization. The Quiet Revolution: Understanding Introverts in a Loud World. In a world that seemingly celebrates extroversion, introverts have long been misunderstood, marginalized, and frequently mislabeled as antisocial or shy. But the truth is far more nuanced and fascinating. The biological blueprint introversion isn't a choice or a personality flaw. It's a fundamental neurological difference. Introverts process stimuli differently, with more active neural pathways in areas associated with internal processing. Their brains are wired to seek depth over breadth, reflection over immediate reaction. Where extroverts gain energy from external interactions, introverts recharge through solitude and introspection. Contrary to popular misconception, introversion isn't about being antisocial. It's about how one experiences and processes social interactions. An introvert can be charismatic, engaging, and deeply social. They simply require more recovery time and prefer meaningful interactions over superficial small talk. The strength of silence. Introverts possess a remarkable set of capabilities often overlooked in our extrovert-dominated culture. They excel at deep, concentrated work, allowing them to dive into complex projects with remarkable focus and precision. Their analytical thinking enables them to dissect problems with extraordinary depth and nuance. As empathetic listeners, they create profound connections by truly hearing and understanding others, rather than simply wanting to speak. Their strategic problem-solving skills emerge from careful, thoughtful consideration of multiple perspectives. Creative introspection allows them to generate innovative ideas through rich internal exploration. Many of history's most transformative figures were introverts. Albert Einstein, Charles Darwin, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg all demonstrate the profound impact introverted individuals can have on the world. Social dynamics and misunderstandings. The modern workplace and educational systems are predominantly designed for extroverts. Open plan offices, group brainstorming sessions, and constant collaboration can be mentally exhausting for introverts. This systemic bias often leads to introverts being overlooked for leadership positions or perceived as less capable, despite evidence suggesting they can be exceptional leaders. Neurological differences. Brain scans reveal that introverts and extroverts actually process information differently. Introverts have more active frontal cortexes associated with internal processing, planning, and complex thinking. They tend to think before speaking, prefer deep conversations, require more time to make decisions, and have rich inner emotional landscapes. The introvert's social toolkit. Contrary to popular belief, introverts can be highly skilled socially. They develop deep, meaningful relationships by prioritizing quality over quantity in their social interactions. Their one-on-one communication skills are exceptional, allowing for nuanced and profound conversations that go far beyond surface-level exchanges. Practicing active and empathetic listening, they create spaces where others feel truly heard and understood. They bring thoughtful, well-considered perspectives to discussions, often providing insights that others might overlook. Cultural and generational shifts. Younger generations are increasingly recognizing and celebrating introversion. Books like Susan Cain's Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking have helped normalize introversion, presenting it as not a weakness, but as a different and valuable way of experiencing the world. Survival strategies. Successful introverts develop strategies to navigate an extrovert-centric world. They set clear boundaries to protect their mental and emotional energy, ensuring they don't become overwhelmed by constant social demands. Scheduling recovery time becomes a critical practice, allowing them to recharge and maintain their emotional equilibrium. They create structured social interactions that feel manageable and meaningful rather than draining and superficial. By leveraging their natural strengths, they find ways to contribute that align with their introspective nature. Practicing self-care and understanding their limits helps them maintain their well-being in a world that often demands constant external engagement. Introversion is not a condition to be cured, but a neurological variation to be understood and celebrated. In a world that often mistakes volume for value, introverts remind us that the most profound insights often emerge from quiet contemplation. The future belongs not just to the loudest voices, but to those who can listen, reflect, and think deeply. The introverts among us. Subscribe to hear a new episode every week.
Tune in right now. Got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Right now, got stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast. Tune in right now. Stories to tell, from the small to the grand, all under one spell. We talk about this, we laugh about that, from the strange to the bliss. Get ready to chat. It's the Binge Podcast, where everything's a blast. It's the Binge Podcast, come join us fast.